Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about The Shallows. About 3 years ago, when you had things like Gravity and Captain Phillips and whatever that movie was with Robert Redford in it, but all these films about the brutality of man and having these great acting performances and how they can survive through these things, and it'd be these extreme situations that they could never get out of. And those were awards movies done with a lot of faith from the studio, with a lot of money behind them, with all this artistic pretension also, but really big auteur filmmakers that everyone knew about the struggles. The Revenant is even a case of that as well. The Shallows is like all of those, like Gravity or The Revenant or that movie with Robert Redford I keep forgetting, except it's more about having fun. It's about being a fun summer movie, and The Shallows is really good at it. In fact, The Shallows might be tighter and a better movie, except for Gravity or something, might end up actually being a better movie than a lot of those, just because how tight and economical and simple it is, and how really good it is at being a fun survival movie. It's really kind of hard to do that, but it's really kind of audience friendly and audience pleasing. It gives everyone in the audience reasons to scream and yell and be like, oh my god, I can't believe that guy just got eaten. And most of that is because of the director, Collet-Serra, I think, who has a real love for making these kind of cheap beer type of movies. You kind of look at all of his films and you think this is probably going to be exactly what I expect it to be. But in the case of The Shallows, yes, it is Blake Lively trying to survive from a shark, and that's basically the whole movie, but he has this love of doing all these genre conventions and doing all these kind of very hackneyed Hollywood things, but he almost understands why Hollywood did all those hackneyed Hollywood things. He's not doing them just to do them, he's doing them because he understands how to use them, and that's the kind of beautifulness of The Shallows. I kind of love simple, cheesy little Hollywood movies that do exactly what they're supposed to in a weird way. It's not really saying anything, it's not going to change your mind about anything other than maybe surfing and not being around humpback whales that are eaten by sharks, and a lot of things you probably aren't doing anyway, so who cares. But The Shallows is exactly the kind of fun I want from the movies, and I want from summer movies. I like the thrill of being in a theater and everyone's freaked out. I like the kind of economical, fine storytelling of it and its cheapness, and just having a fun surfing shark movie where Blake Lively's fighting for her life in kind of the most fun kind of Hollywood cliched way, but in the glory of all of that. And it reminds me of the glory of watching one of those and sitting back and having a good time. This medical student named Nancy, who after the death of her mother has decided to find the beach that her mother surfed on after she learned that she was pregnant with Nancy, and she could never figure out what the name of the beach is, but she has found the beach and she goes surfing on it, and it's an isolated beach, and she has to get a guy to drive her, but he drives her there. There's two other surfers, but that's about it, and she surfs a little bit, calls her family and tells them that she's on this beach. She was supposed to go with her friend, but her friend got drunk and then doesn't show up to the beach so she can hang out with a guy or something. And then Nancy, who's played by Blake Lively, surfs a little more, but then Nancy notices a large whale carcass further away in the ocean, and then after that realizes that there is a great white shark swimming around, and then the great white takes a bite of her, thankfully gets away from the shark, but winds up on a little island of coral in the ocean and tries to survive on that as her and her friend Steven Seagull, who's a seagull, try to survive and not get eaten by the shark before the tide comes up and the shark comes after her, or the shark finds a different way to come after her. She has to try to survive from the shark on this island, hope that either help comes or she can survive on her own wits, as the shark keeps circling and circling the island in which she's sitting with Steven the seagull. The director of this film, Collet-Serra, who I think I'm saying his name right, but his name will be down here and stuff. He is the kind of studio director that I love. He's so good. In fact, I wish he was doing bigger movies, but I almost don't want him to, because I think he's actually so good at this. I want him to make more. He makes kind of Hollywood B movies like Nonstop, Run All Night, Unknown. He's done 3 Liam Neeson action movies, so that should tell you one thing. But they're all the fun, disposable, I can't believe this movie works as well and I had as much fun with this as I'm having kind of movies. He does make cheap beer. Holy shit, I got exactly the amount of drunk that I wanted wanted to, and I kind of enjoyed it. And that's like all of his movies, and I think The Shallows falls in line with that. I didn't know he directed it going in. I mean, I saw someone directed it. It didn't occur to me that it was that guy, and it kind of like struck me like, oh shit, that makes so much sense, because he's very economical. He's a very smart storyteller. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's almost the perfect person to do The Shallows. It was originally going to be Louis LeTurner or whatever. That guy, I don't like that guy that much. He did The Brothers Grimsby, but he also did Now You See Me. He did the Hulk movie with Edward Norton. He's kind of like the typical studio director who most people don't care about, but Hollywood cares about for some reason. I don't know why. But like The Shallows is a lot of fun. Like with this direction, it's so simple and economical, and it knows exactly what it's doing from point to point, that you're just kind of on this like fun adventure. Sure, you know, she should have maybe punched the shark in the nose, because I'm pretty sure that's how you stop sharks, but also sharks are scary, so getting close enough to a shark to punch it in the nose is a whole logistical nightmare, frankly. Although she should have tried that. I think the movie would have been a lot better. Or maybe the shark would have eaten her hand, so maybe the movie would have been shorter. But he understands, like, Blake Lively's character is a med student. If it was just like, hey, I'm a surfer and somehow I'm surviving, this movie would be a lot stupider. I mean, it's a stupid movie anyway, but like the idea that she's a med student, so she knows all these things. When Nancy's talking herself through the situation, kind of sewing herself back up and using earrings, it's like very womanly and girly the way she does it, which is, I think, actually kind of cool. Definitely like a woman's story, and he presents that using very like womanly things, or what we view on our ideal of femininity, I guess. But still, I think that's kind of interesting how he did it. Like, he doesn't shy away from that, but the idea of using her as a medical student, it's kind of like saying like, why did they go in the house in the horror movie? It's like, because no one wants to watch the movie where they don't go in the house and they go have popcorn. That sucks. He obviously went like, well, what would be more interesting within this? And it's a well-written screenplay by Anthony Jawowski, I think, because it goes from like one problem to the next. The cheaper kind of eating a pizza after a long day and just happily falling asleep on the couch quality to The Shallows, I think, is just really, really wonderful. And this is definitely the director to do that. Now, Blake Lively, I've never really liked in anything I've ever seen her in. I mean, frankly, most of them weren't good movies, or I would guess really only The Town was the one I ever liked that she didn't do a great performance in. But I actually kind of liked her in this. It's not an amazing performance, but I think she does a good job. That I actually liked her in something, and I actually liked the character that she played. You'd have to really suck to incorrectly play this, but I think she did a decent enough job. It's not like a star-making role for her, but it's kind of like, okay, I can tell you can at least act. I kind of got the impression you're an actress at this point. For a while, I just like thought she was all Hollywood hype, but to me, she's like at least earned the respect that I really feel she is an actress. I know she's like just wearing a bikini the whole movie, but you know, whatever. That's kind of the whole silliness of this whole thing, and Blake Lively gives it kind of a conviction that makes you maybe take it a little more seriously than maybe this movie should be taken, but I don't think this movie would work as well with a weaker performance, so she definitely adds something to it. But the real star of this is Steven Seagal, who is played by Sully Seagal. He has an IMDb, check it out. But he is just so cool, because it's not like it's Nancy's pet, it's not like she's gonna eat it or something. He's just like this kind of seagull hanging out, very much like an animal buddy who just hangs out with you and, you know, doesn't really ask for much, and she helps him out a little bit, and he goes on a surfboard. But it's like, I cared more about him than her in certain situations. He really steals the movie. I think that says a lot about a director who can make Steven Seagal as compelling as he is. I think there's kind of no way to talk about any shark movie without referencing Jaws in some cases, and I've heard people say, oh, this is like if the girl from the opening of Jaws could fight Jaws and have her revenge and stuff, and it's like, okay, I guess. I think the way it reminds me of Jaws is understanding with the shark, you don't see the shark for a lot of the movie, and I think a lot of that is not as much ripping off Jaws as it is going like, hey, sharks are in water and you can't see them very well in water. That's like the whole thing, really. And realistically, if a shark is after you, you're not going to really be able to see them, thus making them more terrifying. I haven't really been around sharks in the wild. I'd prefer not to be. I can imagine you really wouldn't see them that much, so at least that was semi-realistic, I guess, as realistic as this movie could be. Other than that, it doesn't really share much with Jaws. You don't really get good, well-made shark movies like this, and I think that's probably why that's getting the comparison. But to me, it's like there's a big difference between Spielberg and this guy. Although I think at least him and Spielberg could probably have a conversation about like how using certain genre elements to tell a really nice economical story. And he does feel like a really refined B filmmaker, and I'm sure Spielberg would probably be down with this movie. He'd probably enjoy it. The only problem, I guess, with this movie is the opening with all the texting stuff and FaceTime crap. I really didn't like it. Most of it is her trying to stay alive from the shark, so like those parts are fine, and that's really what you came to see. But it is like with all this fun music at the beginning, and it does have quite an extreme tonal shift, but I guess that's trying to show you how her life is different from just staying alive from fighting a shark. I mean, it's kind of like you're asking the economical movie to be even more economical by cutting out even that part. It doesn't really give you enough of a compelling reason before to really fall in love with her as a character, so I guess those parts do actually fail, but they're fine. I was kind of like, what movie am I seeing? Where's the shark? They direct it well. Since you know it's The Shallows and you're aware what kind of movie this is going in, anytime like the camera's there and the water kind of like goes above the camera, you're like, oh, am I gonna see the shark now? Am I gonna see when's the shark? Where's the shark? When's it happening? And anytime you see a wave, you're like, is the shark in that wave? Where's the shark? Is the shark in the wave? The shark's in the wave, right? And then when the shark is in the wave, it looks really impressive, but you're like kind of so waiting for it. I mean, this movie definitely plays on the fact that it knows you know about it beforehand and has a lot of fun with that early on. It obviously drops that when you get more into the plot of it, which I think I missed Hollywood movies like this. I just love economical storytelling and just getting films to their bare bonesness and having fun with it. And part of me wants to just say this is a really great movie because I think it's really good to see economical films and understand the storytelling elements of them and how someone can tell a story with just a few little things and make a goofy, silly movie really sing the way The Shallows does. It's probably one of my more favorite surprises of the summer because I didn't think I'd end up liking it as much as I did, but it is kind of like the junky little like Blake Lively fights off a shark movie, but it's just like exceptional at being the junky Blake Lively fights off a shark movie. This director still has a lot of promise. I will keep seeing movies by him just because every one I'm like surprised. Like even with Nonstop, I remember going like, wow, it's like really good at being like this plain thriller movie, right when you thought plain thriller movies couldn't work, and you really need a good director to do that. And he's really good at just doing films that take place in one place and not breaking. He doesn't do the 127 hours thing with flashbacks and crap. He understands, like probably he understood when she's talking to herself, or reviews I've read and other people told me they felt that feels like a studio note, but I was like, no, it's like he almost understands like how to play to an audience. And it's really fun to watch a Hollywood director who understands that, especially this summer, because I feel like a lot of big Hollywood filmmakers have no fucking clue. And watching one that's as enjoyable and audience pleasing as this, you'll probably see this if you're on a beach vacation, which you should. It's that kind of a movie, like it's a rainy day at the beach kind of a movie, and maybe you would be a little afraid to go in the water that day or something, so that would be fun. The Shallows is that kind of nice, cheap, summer read paperback novel kind of a movie. It's disposable, it's fun, it gives you exactly what you want, but it's just so wonderful at that. I can't help be completely in awe of a film that can actually do that and deliver on everything you want it to. And that's what makes The Shallows just so absolutely wonderful at what it's trying to do. And it's very sad that a lot of Hollywood films and films in general can't do that and be as well directed and well put together as this. Sure, if you're more into gore and horror, this might not be your thing, but I think you should just sit back and look at the kind of majesty of doing a simple, economical, Blake Lively tries to stay alive from a shark in a bikini movie and just have a good time with that. And if you're willing to do that with The Shallows, I don't think The Shallows will really disappoint you at all. I think you'll have a wonderful time at the movies. Really kind of quite wonderful when Hollywood can be really good at the disposable thing, as opposed to most of the time where it's just disposable and 2 years later you can't even really think about it. You will probably remember The Shallows later, but it does have that disposable, throwing it out afterwards quality because it just all used up and said everything it needed to say. And that's kind of all there is, and that's really what's so wonderful about it. Even if Blake Lively probably should have punched that shark in the nose, which is obviously the right way to take care of a shark. So if you have seen The Shallows and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.